phone number. Here we go.
I think she messaged you. Did she message you
Um,
on Facebook?
let's see. Join audio. I will go look. I will go look. It says here. Okay, it looks like we're here and we're joining.
Okay.
All
I
right.
can hear you, Jessie. Hi, darling.
Hello.
She's my right hand.
Okay. Hello, greetings. I'm just getting myself set up over here. So it's nice to see your faces, and I'm just getting myself plugged in and ready to go. So I'm going to turn my microphone and audio back off, but you know I'm here.
new site. Seven.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for coming. I'm just assembling my supplies here. Getting ready for our work. Okay. I'm going to just pull up our working now. And I see some folks are still coming in, so no problem. Just wanted to let folks know that, great, thank you. Just wanted to let you know that we're going to be recording this and then sharing it with the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple members and with the members of Mother House of the Goddess. And we'll make sure that if you belong to a temple and you'd like to share the link, you can. But to that end, if you don't want to have your face appear in the video, you're welcome to turn off your camera. Conversely, if you don't mind your face appearing in the video, you can turn the camera on. Either way, whatever your comfort zone is. And just a reminder what we're going to be needing today for this particular practice. If you would like to do the physical offerings along with us at home, is you'll want a candle, you'll want an incense burner and charcoal or an oil diffuser. You'll want some frankincense. I also have some copal. And you'll want a glass of water on the altar for the dead. And I also went to the store the other day and got some flowers. So I'll bring those for this working as well. Just brought a little spray of flowers. And I'm going to be muting all participants just so that we don't have background noise in the recording or in the time of quietude. And what I thought we would do today is that we will begin with the practice. We'll do our gestures of the practice together, taking a moment to light the candle together, consecrate the water offering together, and then get our incense going. And then after we've gotten that, I'll lead us in reciting Byron Ballard's prayer for the dead that we have in the group, so you can look in the group to find it. And then at the end of that, I thought we would just begin. I'll ring a bell, the tingshas, and we'll begin a period of silent sitting. And our time of silent sitting together with the dead, we can just do whatever comes naturally to us to help move the spirits of the dead, ease them, help them along, help them find their way. One technique, if you're not familiar with it, is to direct the spirits to look into the flame of the candle or to move into the flame of the candle and to go and join that light. And that's one technique that's used to help spirits move on. Our purpose in this working is to bring peace to the spirits of the dead so that they don't feel stuck, trapped, attached to this world and wandering. But during this time, we can also send out our heart light, our sympathies, our kindness to those who have lost someone with COVID-19, or those who have lost someone for other reasons and couldn't be with them when they died during this quarantine period. So you'll find your own way and whatever feels right to you as we're going along. Don't worry if you do or don't experience presence. Don't worry if you feel your own grief coming in. All of that is perfectly natural. And we'll sit like this together for maybe about 20 to 30 minutes. And then after that, I'll ring the bell again and we can share a little bit, if we want to, about our experiences, our visions, any dreams we've had, anything that's come up recently for us around death and dying and COVID-19. So that's the basic premise of today's gathering. And then I see some folks are sending notes. Hello, welcome from the UK and from the US and all over. It's nice to have you here with us doing this sacred work today. So why don't we just take a moment and close our eyes and take a nice deep breath. We can settle ourselves comfortably in our bodies. And let's take a moment now to set aside any extraneous thoughts, tension, worry. Just empty our minds. Envision each of our thoughts dropping away like a pebble into a pond. And leaving us only with the smooth surface of the water. The mind's mirror-like rippling capacity. And onto that water of the mind, we will be casting our prayers for the well-being of the dead and those who are suffering. And another deep breath. And allowing ourselves to experience the tremendous gratitude for our lives and for the lives of those we love. And if you're planning to use a charcoal for your incense, go ahead and light that now, because it can take a few moments to get going. And then placing the charcoal, once it begins to glow, in your incense brazier. And you can set that aside, and we'll consecrate our water offerings. Holding up your glass of water for the dead, take a moment and breathe 3 times into it to consecrate it as holy water. In the Siberian shamanic tradition, breathing 3 times into the water with intention creates arshan, or holy water, and we offer this holy water to the spirits of the dead. And take a moment now to light your candle. The candle's light is a symbol of the eternal oneness light, the unknowable presence, the all, from which we surface and into which we return. And we light these flames as beacons for those wandering and suffering souls that are looking for the way home. May they follow the flame, the light, toward their next destiny. And breaking off a small amount of the frankincense if your incense charcoal is going strong. Let's now place our incense into the brazier, and then I will sound the bell and we'll begin a period of silent meditation and reflection. Now that the incense is rising, please join me in Byron Ballard's prayer. You have come to the end of this pathway in a journey to which we bear witness. You have come to the end of a pathway that is barred with a gate and a door. May this door open swiftly and silently. May this gate give you a moment's grace in which to rest your spirit before you venture through. We stand here with you as your companions, as your family, for you are beloved. But for now, we must remain here. We cannot go with you to this old land, not yet. For you will see the ancestors, you will see the beloved dead. You will walk among divine beings that guide and nurture us all. You go to dwell in the lands of summer and of apples, where we dance, forever youthful, forever free. We can hear the music in the mist, the drums that echo our sad hearts. We can see your bright eyes and your smile. And so we open the gate. We push back the door. We hold the gate open. We glance through the doorway. And with love and grief and wonder, we watch you walk through. Hail the traveler. All those remembered in love, in honor, live on. Farewell, O best loved, O fairest. Farewell. 2 more minutes. Take a moment for gratitude for our lives as well as the lives of those who have passed from COVID-19. Gratitude for all life. And to release any last energies or ties that we've been working with during this session. And I have a song that I've been singing at the end of my sitting sessions that I'll share with you now, and then we'll be closed with our meditation and we can open the floor to talk a little bit about our experiences if folks would like to share or discuss anything that's been coming up for you around this. So I'll sing this song that I wrote that's a way for me to remember that we're never alone and that we always have the help of the benevolent ancestors. When the world as we know it grows dark and cold and falls apart, we must change, and we know it with holy rage and open hearts, and the dead will walk beside us as we find a better way with divine light inside us, we will shine a brighter day. Hail the benevolent dead. So I'd like to make it available if folks have anything they'd like to share. This is an emotional practice. It can bring up a lot. And especially if you have been having visitations, if you've had questions, if you've had circumstances that felt like you might want to discuss them with a loving and caring group of people who will understand, this is the time to do it. So if you'd like to share something that's come up for you in the past few weeks around the dead, around their spirits moving on, anything related to our topic, please go ahead and give me a little wave or raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can share. Okay, so I see Tara, go ahead and unmute. There you go.
I wanted to share with you what a beautiful experience this was for me, and I want to thank you women for joining in this work and offering your sense of holding space for the dead. The way my body, mind, and spirit processed this was I felt us all in a grove in a forest at the world tree, standing in a circle or in a line, holding space for the dead as they came through. And the world tree was standing almost in a lake, and the water was flowing gently, moving them through, helping them move through. And I would see the various guides and guardians come to them when needed, and I would feel your strong spirits there holding space. And I watched in amazement as that tree would change to a tree they had remembered or enjoyed, or their favorite type of tree. And in that tree was a doorway of light for them to go and use the world tree like a conduit to move on. Some of them went with their guides and decided to learn how to be guides for people and their family in this hard time, and some moved on. I wanted to really express my gratitude for you beautiful women for doing this work today and continuing to do whatever you do in this world. I think it's very important now, and thank you for experiencing this with me.
Thank you, Tara. That's a beautiful visualization, and I just love that some of them decided to go on and learn to be guides. That was really encouraging to hear, and thank you for that visual. I too sensed that we were all together, even though we're separate, but we're all still together, and that togetherness was particularly moving for me as well. So thank you for that share.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone else have a response to that share or a share of your own? Feel free to give me a wave and unmute yourself and we can talk about it. Go ahead, Janice, and then Angie.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thank you for this beautiful meditation to do together. It's really powerful when we gather. I'm receiving calls from animals and children children that have lost their families, and they're in a deep state of confusion and sadness. And so I'm just able to sit with them and offer them love and compassion, I would like to do more. The angel Uriel often comes and sits with us and stays with the child. There's one little child that came during our meditation now, this little girl who just is so lost. And it breaks my heart to know that she's not the only one. And I just, I feel like I feel like I'm doing what I'm doing and what I can do, and I wish it were more. So knowing that there are so many of us, I'm sure that we're a group of 23 today, but I'm sure that people around this beautiful earth that we are a part of are growing in their own compassion. So I just needed to share that yeah. And
Thank you.
the animal,
Thank you.
you know, I'm getting so many messages from Tiger, especially Tiger, Bengal Tiger is coming in a lot, just with this fierce protection and fierce dedication. And I think I'm interpreting that message as a call to ecological responsibility for us, that's our lesson. And I'm not sure if I'm interpreting that right, but that's what I'm getting. And so, yeah, tiger and children and other animals, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you for presencing that message about the tiger. I'm sure there are others who are having that message. In the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple, we recently, amongst the priestesses, had a discussion about just how much tiger symbolism has been coming up for us individually. And specifically, several of us in the Goddess Temple work with tiger as a power animal around summer solstice. And this week we had a divination that suggested that summer solstice be a turning point of some sort for us all. So, you know, I offer that just in case it connects with something that you've been feeling. And I thank you also for your care and your compassion holding space for those who have been left behind and who are confused. That's a really beautiful service to offer, not only to be sitting with the dead, but also to be sitting with those that have been left behind here on earth and who are equally confused. And Angie, would you like to share next?
Yes, thank you, Yeshi. Thank you, Janice, leading into talking about children. The times I've done this, it's been overwhelmed. Just so many souls passing, and I felt as though I should sit more. I've also been getting very hot. I did again this time, and now I'm dry. The physical sensations are really interesting. Haven't experienced this before. Really dry in my throat, really dry in my hands. So that's happening for me. But yeah, the lost, all the women who are losing babies, either carriage or stillbirths, all that's going on with birthing. And then there's been some really lost souls, mentally suffering, those who've taken their own lives. And that has been really painful. And the image that keeps coming to me is where we've done walking the death road ceremonies in Avalon, Glastonbury, and several times I've been at the end of death road, the end of a row of priestesses, and I keep seeing the winged ones in Egypt for transitioning. So a lot of birds have been coming through, actually in present day life, and during this meditation, I could hear crows squawking outside. So there's a lot of presence of birds around for me. And then also deep sadness about what happened with this virus. What is the truth of this virus with the animals? And was it bats and those other rare wild animals that could become extinct? And the grief of that, the grief of all the animals that we're losing or we have lost. So it's not just the human souls that have been coming through for me. And I've just been allowed myself to cry. Thank you for the space.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you also for holding space for the babies and for the animals. I've definitely noticed in our area, and I live in a very rural area, so it's not as if we have so much traffic and pollution here that the birds wouldn't be here. Usually the birds are here, and yet I have noticed in the past few weeks so much more bird song. It's almost as if the birds are just coming in and taking over. I mean, it's just they've taken over in the absence of planes and helicopters and our normal activity. And I can only imagine that in the cities it's even stronger to notice that. And thank you for presencing that. And I also would like to reflect back, and maybe others might raise your hand, if you've been noticing during this period that you've been feeling dry in your throat, experiencing dryness. I have also been experiencing that dryness. And I think sympathetically speaking, for those of us who are empathic, for those of us who are psychic, when we're perceiving that and we're experiencing that dryness, it's part of the disease that's taken these people's lives, is to get very dry and difficult to breathe, and the dry cough. So I just wanted to thank you for presencing that and pointing it out, because I imagine that there's a number of us who don't feel quite so alone as we're putting lotion on our hands, as we're drinking lots of water, as we're putting on the diffuser and trying to get moisture into the air. I've been boiling pots on the stove with cedar in it to cleanse the air, but also to moisturize it, because especially for the first month of this, it was like I couldn't get enough water. I couldn't get enough water into the air. And I see some nodding and acknowledgement of others who have felt the same. Thank you for sharing that, Angie. And I know that, this practice, one of the things about me is that I very rarely cry in public, but when I'm by myself, I'm experiencing a lot of tears just randomly throughout the day. And when I experience it, I feel like I just take a moment and I stop and I let myself have the tears, because I feel like somewhere I'm in tune with someone else's grieving and I can support energetically in that. So thank you for pointing that out. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share today? Go ahead, Emmy, you're next. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this space, everyone. I've also been getting a lot of animals and children coming through. And what came through especially strongly today was the ones who have died through domestic violence. So both the mothers and the children, and then often the perpetrators themselves who have killed themselves after they've hurt their families. So feeling a lot of pain and grief around that at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy, and thanks for pointing that out. We have seen a dramatic uptick in incidences of domestic violence worldwide, and it just really highlights the constant nature of this problem, and how under the pandemic it's more visible, but it's not as if it wasn't happening all along. And I think for some of us who have been in this work for a long time, probably most of us here, we've been noticing for many years how women and children are so frequently killed by a man who has a gun. And I know of at least one woman who recently died with her child, and one of her children, her other child, escaped and was able to alert the authorities, but not before the mother and sister were already dead. And I know another woman who recently escaped with her children, and they didn't even have time to put shoes on because the man went and to go get the gun. And so the mother just grabbed the children and ran, and they managed to escape. But it's a very serious problem, and it's one that I think all of us feel the urgency of on a regular basis. And this pandemic has only made it even more visible. And I hope that it's more visible to the whole world, and that the whole world starts to recognize this problem and to see that something has to be done. So thank you for presencing that, Emmy, and for calling it to our awareness. And certainly I join you in it. And this week dedicated one of my practices to the eradication of male violence, particularly because if you look statistically, it's not women doing this. It's not women getting guns and killing their loved ones, not by a long shot. So thank you for pointing that out. And we have room for maybe one or two more shares. Anyone else feel like they'd like to share something before we close today? Give a little wave if there's anything else. Megan, go ahead, please.
So I definitely have a sense of how many spirits were coming by, and for me, it was like a natural candle flame. Actually, totally became a twisting portal. So it's funny that
Can you just speak a little louder, sweetheart? It's hard to hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a little bit wonky right now. For me, the hardest ones were the little ones. There was a little 5-year-old girl. That one was really sad. But on the other hand, others came and thanked me or thanked us for helping. And there was one old woman that said that she'd come back and look out for me.
Thank you. It was a little bit fuzzy, but I heard you say that there was, you are also experiencing the children coming through, and that's hard, but that you're creating kind of a portal for them to go through, and that there was one woman in particular who came through and who thanked you for this help, or who was grateful for this help. So that's at least what I heard, and I hope I got it right, but thank you. And I have also been, just for my part, I create sort of a column of light within myself, and then I move it outside of myself so that I can see it. And then I invite the spirits to come and just to kind of ride this wave of light up, and I don't really know where they're going to go. I presume that everyone goes to their own version of heaven, whatever their version is, whether it's rebirth, whether it's the undying lands, whether it's a pure land, a Buddhist pure land, but wherever that they go, once they go through this column of light, is wherever they want to be. And that's been sort of how I've been holding it. I did want to just share one more thing before we close today, and that is that for a number of years now, and the reason why I'm interested in this work in general, for a number of years now, in the dream realm, I have an office in a building, and in the office, I sit at a desk, kind of like a therapist or a secretary, and I get up out of that desk and I walk down a hallway, and then I go around into a room, which is like a waiting room. But once I get into the waiting room, it's vast. There's no beginning or end. It's just vast. And there's thousands of people walking back and forth. And in my dream world, I usually will know who I'm supposed to talk to. I see them, I call them from the crowd, they come with me, they come sit in my office, and then I begin to ask them questions. And my job is to get them to realize that they've died. These are people who don't know that they've died. and they're stuck. And so I sit there and I say, oh, well, what is your name? And oh, what do you do for a living? And where do you live? And I get them to tell me a little bit about their lives. And then I say, and what were you doing before you were here? And they start to tell me the story of how they died, but they don't usually know that they don't usually know that they're dead. Usually the way this starts is that they'll start telling me, oh, well, I was in the car and I was driving to go to the store, or they'll tell me, oh, I was in the barn and we were working with some machinery, or whatever. Over the years, it's any number of different things. And so then I say, oh, really? Yeah. So what happened next? And then they tell me, and they'll tell me everything that's been happening up until the moment when they died. And then it's almost universal. This happens again and again, that all of a sudden they'll be like, so then I was, I reached into the thing, or I went around the corner, and then all of a sudden they go, and they look at me because they realize that they've died. And usually in that moment when they kind of go like that, I just sort of open my heart and I just beam light, and they kind of disappear in a puff of light. And this has been going on for a decade for me in the dream world, numerous dreams. And since this has happened, typically I have this dream, a couple times a year, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, over a consistent period of about 10 years. And since this has been happening, I've been going into this office in the dream realm, 2 or 3 times a week. It's been exponentially more than ever before. And the reason that I started this practice was because of one of these dreams. I had a dream in which I was in the office and I got up to go and get my client. And as I walked out of the office, this nurse, a male nurse, came running out of the waiting room, and he was in scrubs and he was completely frantic. And he ran around the corner and he looked at me, and I just got this sense of like, this is coming through so hard and so heavy right now that they're actually just like bursting out of the waiting room. And he came around the corner and he was running like as if he was about to go to a patient. And he looked at me and he looked confused for a minute, and I looked at him and I said, what's your name? And he went, oh, and he disappeared into a cloud of light. And I went and I remembered his face when I woke up. And so I went and I looked online for medical professionals who have died as a result of COVID-19. And I was looking through memorials, and I actually found this young man. He was the nurse who died in Queens in New York City, the first healthcare worker who died in New York City from COVID-19. And so I've put him on my altar, and I'm continuing to have experiences like this in the dream realm. And I share this, because I think that probably some of you have experienced your own version, dreams, or particular visions, or that maybe if you are regularly a worker in the realm of the dead, you, like I do, have some structure that you use with it. And so I just wanted to share that was mine, and that's been my reliable structure, and that I hope for each of you as workers of compassion that you can find and cultivate the reliable structures so that you can continue to do this sacred work for the benefit of the dead. And we will be coming back together again in May to do this. And until then, we'll just continue to do it at our own altars. I've been very appreciative to see your shares, your inspiring prayers, music, memorials, and things like that you've been sharing in our group. And please continue to do it. If you have any questions, or if you have any further reflections after this, please feel free to post them in the group. And I'll also be sharing the video of this session today in the group in the coming weeks, so that for those who couldn't attend today, they can still do the practice with our support and maybe hear a little bit about what we've experienced, so that they won't feel so alone. thank you for your sacred work, and we're going to close for today. I hope everyone has a safe and healthy and good week filled with gratitude for life. Bye.